Welcome back to Watching Film and Varnadore Films. I'm Seth Varnadore. I'm a former high school and college football coach. Now I break down film here on YouTube with a particular emphasis on the Florida Gators. So, Florida's got a new defensive coordinator, Austin Armstrong, formerly of Alabama, formerly of Southern Miss, youngest defensive coordinator in college football, bringing him in to replace Patrick Toney. Um, They got similar profiles, I think, in terms of before the hire. Obviously, Tony was a guy that was really well thought of before the season. It seemed like he had trouble getting in everything he wanted to. I thought they were a little conservative at times, but defense, I think one thing that is really relevant is that defense is really a lot more personnel driven than offense. If you looked at somebody put out before the Super Bowl, the star ratings of the guys playing defense were all, I think, on average 4-star ish, and then offense it was like 2.5. Um, and that kind of tracks in college football as well. The better your talent level is, your defense typically follows that. That relationship is uh, a little more apparent than star level and like offensive performance, right? So I think that's like the number one thing to consider when talking about Florida's defense. But Tony was, I think, I'm sure a lot of people would say was a little disappointing last season with all kind of the hype he got. I know coaches thought really highly of him coming into the season, um, and Austin Armstrong's kind of got the same rep. Guys that are young, are really highly thought of in coaching circles. We'll see if his results are any different. Now he does things a little bit differently than Tony does, and it appears that way, right? I've got some Southern Miss film here from 3 games from last season, and then a game from 2021. So his first season, pulled a game from UTSA, pretty good team in that year. So I thought that'd be a good one to look at. Then we've got some Louisiana, a little bit of Miami, and a little bit of Tulane. So um, they had a pretty good performance against what was a pretty good Tulane offense. So that was an interesting one to look at. We've got a little bit from there, but let's jump right in and kind of talk about this defense. We don't need to look at my face anymore. Let's look at some film. So this is against Louisiana, trying to go through and look at different parts of the defense. So we'll start with kind of the base structure. Front wise, I've seen a bit of both, but I think he's mostly a 4-down guy. We'll mix in some odd front stuff from what I've seen, and then do a bunch of different things with coverage and bring guys from all over the place. So let's take a look at it. One thing that I think is interesting to note just before we get into it is, and these are some numbers from a great piece written by Cody Alexander, the Match Quarters Substack. You can find him on Twitter at _coach_A. Really good follow. I had him on last year to talk about Patrick Toney. He wrote something up about Armstrong. 38% cover 3. So a lot of 1 high looks, but he shows 2 high. And you'll see as we go through here, they'll roll coverages. They'll show 1 high, roll to 2 high, show 2 high, roll to 1 high. So kind of making it difficult on the quarterback. Then they were 8th in the country in blitz rate. So they blitzed 40% of the time, according to these numbers, and 19th in the country in stunt rate. So that moving up front. That's one thing you can see that's apparent. They will move around up front a ton. So we'll start with them fitting up some run game stuff. You see here, looks like an even front. I'd say here looks like an over front. Looks like a 1, looks like a 3. Stand up end, he's an end. Once the shift happens, looks like it moves to an under front where you've got the 1 to the strength here. But I thought was interesting is it's similar to how you see a ton of teams play tight, where you have these kind of loose edge players, and they'll come in and set the edge and turn things back. So I thought that was similar. This doesn't appear to be tight. Again, he appears to be a 1. He appears to be maybe a head up 2 or 3, but they could be stemming to a tight front here. So he could be moving to where he's going to slant to a nose. He's trying to slant almost to a 4-eye, and he'll try to slant to a 4-eye as well. And then you get in that tight, odd front look, right? But interesting thing here, the way that loose edge player comes up, sets the edge. And then I thought they had pretty good linebacker play, which was Armstrong was the linebackers coach. So that was good to see his particular unit playing well. Again, here's kind of one of those, right? You've got a really loose edge player here helping to fit up this counter, right? That's basically your nickel. So he's helping fit up in here. And then watch up front. Right, this looks like a different front than the previous time. Looks like possibly head up 2s, maybe 2-3 techniques. And then you see right here, looks like we've got some possible game being played where they're going to fold back in. Great part of that piece by Cody Alexander. He shows a really good example of this and explains, I think, what this kind of front movement is and how they'll have the D tackle make his move, and then the end man can kind of read how the tackle is going to block it. Ends up being, it's kind of interesting. Those guys full back in on the run there, and you've got that nickel coming up and making the play on the counter. Here's something they did a few times where the corner is involved in the run fit backside. You'll see another example here. A lot of teams will let corners loose. He's involved in the fit there, slows that down. You see against Miami here, I don't know if he's blitzing or if they're like playing a trap coverage look, but he's inside right at the snap. He ends up becoming part of the fit there. And then here's them playing a screen. Can you look up front? This looks like more of a tight presentation, right? It's hard to tell exactly with this view, but not too dissimilar to a tight look. Loose edge player there goes and makes a play on the screen. So you're seeing kind of some odd front. You're seeing some even front. They did a really good job of this last year. So this is from last season. They have guys that just get after the quarterback. That's not really scheme. That's individual guys, right? You see guys winning individually. But they did a lot to help these guys too. So you'll see defensive line move. So right here, it's not too dissimilar, I think, than the one we saw earlier. They just do a really poor job of protecting it. Get those eyes, and then you got a two-man game kind of on the tackle there almost because the guard blows it. Again, a lot of movement. It's not a lot of – the first one shows kind of a static rush, but here I'm inside. He's out. All right, not a lot of just static. This is my rush lane. Here, 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 here. A lot of movement post-snap, right? And you see that 19th in the country in stunt rate. So right here's another one. Then you get an example here where they show too high, then post-snap, roll in the coverage. So why do teams like to do this? Why is this important? How many schools do – my dad likes to call it the meerkat offense, where everyone will come to the line, we'll do a hard count, and then every single person – eyes over to the sideline. What are we doing, right? What am I supposed to do? That just lets the offensive coordinator get a perfect call against whatever you line up in. If you line up and disguise your coverage at the snap right here, the coordinator All right, well, they're showing a too high look, so he's probably thinking it could be a too high coverage, right? Or something out of middle of the field open. Well, then post snap, now instead of letting the coordinator make the perfect call, and this guy doesn't have to think as much, let's make him think a little bit, right? That's the idea. Make the quarterback think. Don't get beat by a coordinator, get beat by a college football player, get beat by the quarterback, right? So here, quarterback forces one, house call. But again, look up front. Right? I'm here. I'm in there. And we get to see a little bit, I think, of a creeper, which is something that the two schemes have in common. One thing that, in spite of the differences, I think, in play calling temperament, maybe, there's not a ton of difference schematically. And Napier said as much. He said something to the, about how this is part of why they run their scheme. You can do it different ways. Armstrong took their scheme to Southern Miss and made it a lot more aggressive, a lot more man coverage, a lot more blitzing. Toney was a little more zone coverage, creeper type stuff. You can do a little bit of both, and that's why he said they like to run the system they run. So why is that important? Because I think Armstrong has familiarity with the concepts Florida was running defensively last year. Their language he probably has a lot of familiarity with. So a pretty seamless ish transition this late in the game here. So with spring practice starting soon, you don't want to have a guy come in and have to teach stuff that's totally new. So right here, it looks like you're getting two off the edge, and this is something I think they'd like to do in short yardage. It looks like almost two off the edge, and then you're kind of getting maybe a pinch inside here. But bring it two off the edge, move inside, slant inside. Similar one, I believe this is Frank Harris, right? UTSA burned him earlier on zone read. Well, now I'm sending two off the edge. Get a big stop here on fourth down, right? So coverage, you'll play a variety of coverages. Right here, I wonder if this is if they're trying to double here. This looks like they're playing. This really looks like they're playing here. Really, almost like a quarters version, where they're playing 3/2 here. Then up top, it almost looks like a man underneath, and he's looking. He looks like he's trying to get deep half. I wonder if this is a dude and they're trying to double him, have a guy over the top. I'm not sure, but you see here, this looks a lot like man coverage to that side. And then when you win one-on-ones, you got everybody locked up. You win one-on-ones, you get sacks, right? This to me looks like a version of cover 3 where they, right, one high, could be one high pattern matching, but it looks like he's locked back here to the field here. Looks like we're playing a version of 3. So some teams will do that. They'll lock the boundary corner where he's almost like man. So if that guy goes deep, he's got him. If he stays short, he stays on him. And everybody else is kind of running cover 3. I've seen that where teams like to do that to take away, because a lot of teams will just, if you play off into the boundary, they'll just take the short side hitch and now the now screens and stuff like that. So roll up there, make them complete passes. And then here's a version of kind of a creeper, right? Creepers. Does everybody remember creepers? We want to show some more of those, but that's bringing 4 guys, but not all 4 down. So he's actually going to drop. He's going to come creeper, something Florida and Toney were pretty. Toney was kind of famous for creepers. He gave some clinic talks on that. That's something they've got in the book here too. Another one where initial presentation, he walks down here, but initially he's here, walks down to there. So initial presentation is too high. Looks to be rolling to the middle of the field here. And this is just, there's not much to this one here. There's maybe a little, and maybe I'm coming back there, but that's just kind of winning up front right there to force him to step up. But you see pretty good coverage on the back end here. This looks like, to me, a kind of a version of cover 3 cloud almost. This is the safety that's walked up. You have a receiver down here at the bottom that you can't see with a corner on him. The corner stays in the flat. They try to get the old quick out go route. They try to pull that one. The corner sits, so the quarterback's thinking it's an easy throw, but he actually gets over the top of it. So it's almost like, and you see there's a safety stays in the middle of the field here. Right, 29 turns and runs, gets on top of it. Safety stays. Right, there's the other safety. Stays in the middle of the field. 29 goes and almost makes the play, right? So kind of an interesting, you want to talk about a different look, right? I mean, this is a guy that's rolled up presumptive. If I'm a quarterback, I'm thinking, this guy's functioning as a nickel where he's rolled up to. And then on the snap, he becomes a deep third player over the top. This quarterback's probably got eyes on the corner out here. As soon as he sees the corner squat, he's thinking, I got a huge play out here. Lets it rip. Almost gets picked off. So that's an interesting little disguise there. And then what do you know? Another creeper. Bringing 4. So you're getting 2 on the center here. All right, so another cool part of it. Drop these 2. Kind of end up with 2 guys in that A gap. Gets through. 2 guys on the center. He tries to take both. Lets the first one go through. Leads to that interception or near interception. All right, more move. You got stand-up ends. Moving up front. This is an interesting one. You'll see it from the wide view. Trying to bait him into thinking it's 3 high or it's 1 high, cover 3 is what it looks like to me. Both these guys are playing what appears to be almost like a swipe technique. They're kind of playing in between here where they're almost running in between the verticals here. I wouldn't get that from the wide view. So he thinks he thinks he's got an easy throw there. He's thinking it's cover 3. I'm going to run 4 verts. As soon as he clears him, easy money. I'll just bang it right there. This guy actually splits the difference between 1 and 2, and he ends up jumping the throw. So here they bait him into throwing the seam. He jumps in front of it, takes it back to the house to ice the game here. Good job here in the red zone. Trying to whip out here. Trying to pull somebody out, get behind here, right? But really good job of passing this off. Not only they bring pressure, he goes to whip out. He matches it. He goes to run the dig in here, and he's there for him. So really good job. Tries to throw the whip. He undercuts it. You got the safety coming over the top here too. This thing's locked up. He undercuts it. Has a big play. Not too dissimilar here. You're trying to get, trying to high-low. Probably showed a lot of blitz, dropped into coverage here. They don't got enough for it. Forces a throwaway here in the red zone on 4th and goal. Not the best time to throw it. Another red zone look. Looks like a 1 high presentation. They're almost going to roll to like a Tampa 2, where he's rolling to deep half. He's rolling to deep half here, and he's going to be the pipe player. They get a little lucky here. He runs the pipe down there. Probably could have hit that. He's trying to get this and go. Your pipe player does a good job getting underneath it. Almost forces an interception here. And that's all right. That's a tough look. You show pre-snap, you show one high, and then you roll to two high, and then you really have this guy functioning underneath as like a third deep defender. He won't get quite as deep as the safeties here, but just underneath that deep underneath area. So even if you correctly diagnose the roll that it's going to be middle of the field open, now we've got somebody else to poach underneath there, right? So even if I see this and think, all right, perfect, middle of the field open, I know I'm going to have this throw right here. Well, now he's coming into there too. So did he have the other guy? I think he did. But this is why you roll coverage. You don't want to have to beat the coordinator. You just want to have to beat the quarterback. All right, so here's the one. Here's a deeper view of the one I was talking about earlier, the pick six, right? It looks – the presentation is obviously one high here. The one high corner's off. You're probably thinking cover three, especially when the safety is – this safety is sitting flat-footed, right? But we'll see both on both sides – we're kind of running almost not quite in between, but a little bit in between these 1 and 2 here on each side. So the quarterback's thinking four verts. When you're teaching four verts, right, I'm opposite the safety. If it's one high, I should be able to get one of these seam throws is what a lot of people like to teach. So, man, where does the safety start? Starts here. Let's see if on the snap where if we move him, right? So he's looking at worst directly at the safety, probably a little bit to this side here. He's thinking right there. You see the safety's moving left. I've moved him enough. I'm gonna hit my back foot, let it rip, right? So as soon as he clears, I'm letting this thing rip. Well, he's sitting there kind of waiting for it. They baited him into throwing that seam. Thank you very much. And now I'm gonna take this thing back to the house. All right, here's some more creepers. We talked about creepers, right? Bringing four, but not the normal four. One of Toney's big things, you see it here, bringing a creeper. Again, this is a creeper. They end up getting a pick here, flag for offsides. I don't know if he knew this, if they knew the flag was there and he threw it up. May have. That could explain it. But regardless, you're bringing three basically over the guard and tackle, trying to get that one of those guys free. The back does a decent job. You still almost get there on the edge. Throws it up there for a pick, but offside, so it doesn't quite count. Another one. They do some interesting stuff with the creepers we'll see later. Notice how he will, on the snap, he doesn't just drop right now. Steps up, gets you to commit to him, and then drops back. Steps up, gets the tackle to set for him. Now he drops back. The guard's got to take that now, and so I went on with the back. So if I beat the back, I've got a chance. You beat the back. And that's just like little coaching points right there. Bang, step up field. Make this guy set for you. If he just drops right now, well, then I might get eyes inside, be able to pass that off, and then he picks this guy up. That's easy. There's no pressure on the quarterback. But that set makes me set out wide. Now the guard has eyes on him. He starts to widen. The guard's eyes start to widen. And thank you very much. There's my open rush lane. There's the back. Not a good pass protector. Sack. Another one. See dropping out, stepping up. You can see that stepping up here, dropping out. Getting underneath the throw lane, right? If I'm the quarterback, this big dude's up on the line of scrimmage. I'm assuming he's coming. So I look back here. Right, 3rd and 6, just need a first down. That looks like free access to me. Right? corner's off. I just need 6 for a first down. Bang. Take your steps. Throw it on him right there. Except these two are blitzing. He's dropping out underneath it. You never see him. He gets a mid on it, pops it in the air. Interception there. And what would have been a pretty easy third down conversion if that guy's not dropping underneath. Here's another one. And I put some of these on here. You know, this is what happens when you don't get home. That's the bad thing about the defense. Statistically, giving up a lot of explosives. So even in a creeper, if you don't get home, you can get beat, right? So there, you'll see I have a few in here of, some of the explosive they gave up. Here's an interesting one. I called it like a coffee house stunt, where guys will act like they're dropping and come back. But they'll do this where he'll be up, he'll turn like he's going to drop, and then he'll blitz. Just try to give himself a little crease there, which he does. And this is 3rd and 15. So you don't want to have to, if you can get pressure without having to bring a ton of guys, which they do here. They really only bring 3. He's kind of almost like a spy. He doesn't really try to rush. And hey, there's a couple of 3rd and 15s Florida would like to have last year, right? Here's another one where we're going to bring guys here to drop out like he's dropping, and he's going to come too. Right there, just makes it difficult. And this is a 3rd and long, so that's fine if you make them drop underneath there. They're punting, right? So cool design here, right? Here, his eyes come to this blitzer. And then he just kind of goes in between them there. Use some athleticism to get away. Quarterback gets the ball off, but throws it short of the sticks. Wrap up tackle. Another creeper. And this one's another one we're going to roll the coverage. Getting pre-snap. Looks like one high. Right here. Looks like a one high picture, right? 1. Count them. There we go. As you see, he's bailing and getting depth. He's actually going to turn deep half. So you're going to bring this creeper, drop it underneath. Kind of, I think you're probably hoping they try to throw this thing short of the sticks, and you've got this thing trapped. So they think they've got you, though. They go smash, like inverted smash. He's thinking, all right, well, if they try to trap that, I got this over the top. Easy money. One high pre-snap. Safety gets over the top, throws late. Thank you very much. All right, there's creepers and there's just straight blitzes. This is not a team that is afraid of being aggressive. They're not afraid to bring the noise. They'll play some just straight zero. Nobody deep. They'll play zero. They'll play just like one hole, one rat. They'll bring pressure and play aggressive man coverage behind it. They're not afraid. Here's the screen. You think it's a perfect call, but look how many guys are coming, and they get there so fast. You're able to get your hands up, and that kind of stops the play from being a big play here. But the aggressiveness on 3rd and 10 to bring this many guys, you didn't see that a ton last year, I don't think, for Florida. Blitz yourself right into a run here, maybe get a little lucky, right? Because this is one where you looks like you've got looks like you got the corner going to fit up here, but they've got a pretty good call on, but you're able to blitz right into it there, eliminate some problems with aggressiveness. Here's an interesting one. Look at all the movement we've got here. I mean, we've got here. Right, he's gonna come back here. So we've got this and this. this and this, that off the edge. So here, 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 and then I think he adds on at the end there. Right, the back stays in protection, adds on. I mean, this is a lot of moving right here. See what I mean by add on? Let's get rid of those. He's mirroring the back. He's probably got the back in man coverage. Right, you see him kind of mirroring the back. As soon as he sees the back is in pass protection, I'm adding on to the blitz, right? Why wait for him to go out on a route if he's in protection? I'm going to add to the rush. Gets there for a sec. This is one that I may be like because we're rolling here. He's rolling in the middle of the field. This could be they could be making like an under call here, to where he makes an under call. He comes here and they kind of exchange responsibilities. He drops underneath there. It doesn't look like straight, right? It doesn't look like straight three, right? Does it? The corner is not exactly bailing right at the snap. You see, he goes to drive a little bit. Maybe he makes an under call, or and then I can get vertical underneath number 2. Tries to fit it in there. So there's just a bunch of different ways to attack teams with coverage. You're showing a bunch of different things. Obviously, according to Cody Alexander, 38% of the time they're in cover 3, but you see them in a lot of man. I've seen some 0. I've seen some 1. To me, this looks like 1, and then you got a player in the hole there. They'll blitz. They'll add on. It's just it's an aggressive, and they'll bring corners too. So here's the corner coming off the edge here, blowing up a counter before it's got a chance to really hit. And then here's another one where the quarterback thinks they got an easy completion here. I think this is just a stick concept, and it's actually going to drop underneath the flat there, make that a tough throw, and you're bringing pressure too. So this thing's got to get out of your hands fast. Makes it a difficult throw. Can't complete it there. No, I thought this was a good example, right? It looks like you're going to get a vertical deep crosser here. Right, if it was straight cover 3, right? Deep third, deep third, deep third. So it appears to me that as this number 1 kind of declares he's coming across the field here, he will get out of there deep. Instead of him being deep middle, he's actually going to take this crosser and he's going to go get deep middle there, right? Because I don't really have a deep threat here to the right side or to their left side, offense's right side. So he's deep third. You'll see the safety actually come down to take this crosser, and he's actually working underneath the deep post probably. So you saw Florida hit this shot a few times. Louisiana's probably run a similar one that Florida did. So here's a look at it. Here's the safety drop into deep middle. You'll see as the deep crosser comes right here, he's going to drive on it. So you think you're going to get this deep crosser in this intermediate window, and the safety actually comes to make a play on it. And why is he able to do that? Right, and not be worried about vacating for this post, because as he takes that, he rolls back underneath in the deep middle. So you've got the post kind of bracketed, and then he's able to make a play on the crosser. Another blitz. This time, this gets him a safety right here. They slant and then blitz off and bring a guy off the edge, forces intentional grounding. But, right, this is one thing that this one made me nervous a little bit. But this wasn't something that was constant. It just happened on this play. obviously could have been a bust. I've got his marked as a bust, but you've got two tight ends over here. You got the edge out wide, and then look how many gaps you have uncovered right there between these two. That's not super sound. Again, I think it's just a bust, and maybe could have been after a shift or something that didn't get caught here. You kind of luck out and force a turnover, but that's not super sound. I don't think he doesn't seem like he's a guy that's just doing crazy stuff and being super aggressive, where he's just totally like unsound and just being like crazy for no reason and really not being fundamentally correct. This was probably a bust, but I wanted to show a few busts just to. This isn't like perfect defense every time, right? What happens when you're aggressive and play man coverage? This can happen, right? You can get beat over the top. So it ain't perfect, but I do like the style he plays and the aggressiveness he shows. So yeah, that's just like a little taste of Austin Armstrong defense. He's definitely, I think, a little more aggressive than what you saw last year. That maybe that fits with the personnel more. I don't know. We'll see. Really good reputation. Again, Toney had a really good reputation. I don't think Toney's a bad coach. It just didn't work for whatever reason last year. Can Armstrong kind of get the benefit of having guys in his system already for a year, basically, and just be able to kind of call plays differently? He might, and maybe the defense can take a big step forward. They'll probably need to, but I think this is an interesting hire for Florida. Obviously, going out and get a young guy that's somewhat unproven. Sounds a lot like last year's defensive coordinator hire in Patrick Toney, right? But I think for continuity, it's a good hire, and we'll see if it works out. We all thought Patrick Toney was on his way to superstardom before last year. A little shine came off of him last year, but he got an NFL job. So he's obviously a good coach. It didn't really work out at Florida last year the way a lot of people anticipated. Will Austin Armstrong be better? I don't know. But he may be more fun to watch, and that may be helpful for Florida fans. I think Florida fans would rather lose playing really aggressive than playing passively. So if you can, give this video a like, subscribe, comment. Help me game this YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching.